you ready, Miss Lorraine? Yes. Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. Tell me when we're ready. Oh, okay. Very good. Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order, the Ridgewood Village Council Public Workshop, October 6, 2021. The time is 7:33 p.m. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by a posting on the bulletin board in Village Hall, by mail to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled to same, as provided by law, including a date and time of this meeting. Roll call.
Councilwoman Perrin.
Here.
Councilwoman Reynolds.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Seaton.
Here.
And Mayor Knudsen.
Here. Please join us for the flag salute. Please join us in a moment of silence for men and women serving our nation, our first responders, and all those who have suffered as victims of violent crimes. Thank you. Before we begin with public comment, I would like us to give a warm welcome to John Lee, the owner of Lee Acupuncture and Herb Clinic at 172 Franklin Avenue. And John Lee, you want to come up and tell us a little bit about your business, introduce yourself. Come on right up to the microphone here. Oh, you're on your own.
Hi, I'd like to thank you for inviting
just speak
me.
into the microphone. Bring it up a little, loud and clear. You're on the record, and the whole world is watching.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. Yeah, I am an acupuncturist and herbalist. I'm a doctor of Oriental medicine. I studied integrative medicine. Integrative medicine is the future. Okay, I'm, open the 172 Franklin Avenue. Student number is 3A. Anytime, so welcome.
Okay, so do you have any website or anything that
Yeah,
we should
website
visit?
is...
Just tell us right into the microphone.
Yeah, leeacuherbs.com.
Very good. All right, so welcome and best of luck to you, and I'm sure we'll all be seeing you in town. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
With that, we'll go to public comment, not to exceed 3 minutes per person for a total of 40 minutes. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Good evening.
Linda Scarpa, 569 Northern Parkway, Ridgewood, New Jersey. I'm talking about the hybrid request, and I was not at the last meeting, but I did listen to it on your tapes. I'm saying basically the same old reasons why I think it should be considered. Autonomy for taxpayers. It's more convenient for working families, the elderly who really have trouble getting out, and also those with disabilities. And also, I noticed about, there was touching on bullying. One of the reasons bullying happens is people listen to things or see things and they don't like it. I think that if you had hybrid learning, that would cut down on bullying because people don't tie a name to a face. I should also say I also was bullied on Facebook. I guess they tied my name to my face. Anyhow, in regards to money, given that the Board of Education of this town already has hybrid, perhaps we could find some money for this very important issue. And lastly, I just want to say that there was some sort of a survey that was done in Ridgewood where 100 people were surveyed. Some didn't care, some liked it, whatever have you. But I have yet to see one taxpayer to come up and say, I don't want hybrid learning, or even hear it. And I'm out there, so I ask questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Linda. Good evening. Name and address for the record.
Erin Taddy, 419 Bogart Avenue, and Pasquale Taddy, also 419 Bogart Avenue. For the better part of the pandemic, because of the remote access, I found the courage to call into the village council meetings. And I attribute that because I didn't quite have the bravery at the time to stand there and discuss what I wanted to share. From the refuge of my home, I was able to share my story of being full-on cyberbullied by a sitting member of the planning board. It was uncomfortable, and I disliked every moment of it. But it's my fervent prayer that something good would come of it, that the village council would at once adopt a social media policy so that what happened to me would never happen to anybody else. You see, when you are bullied in any capacity and you bring it to the attention of the people who are supposed to advocate for you and who are supposed to advocate for the good of the community at large, and you don't see somebody take immediate action, it's incredibly disheartening. I am happy to say that thanks to my persistence, I like to believe, and some good common sense, a social media policy was eventually implemented. New Jersey defines cyberbullying as any kind of online communication via any electronic device or through a social networking site that is intended to harass another and in which the person sending the communication engages in a discussion of injury, physical harm, or damage to property. All of these occurred to me in a post from a sitting member of the planning board. Now imagine a few months later it comes to your attention that the person who cyberbullied you is seeking a seat on the village council and has the support of some of the sitting members. To me, this sends a very concerning message. Not only are some of you choosing to support the person who's cyberbullying me, you're sending a very strong message to the other residents of Ridgewood. To me, it's pretty simple. Someone who attacks another resident's appearance, refers to her on multiple occasions as a derogatory and terrible and profane term for female genitalia, and engages in multiple discussions about harm coming to them, including a discussion of getting a hitman in print. They should not have the obvious support of certain members of the village council when they're seeking election. I stand here on behalf of all the residents of Ridgewood. We deserve to live peacefully and joyfully, and we should not be subjected to any form of bullying ever. We are better than this, Ridgewood. Please remember this when it comes to the election. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. Barry Goldberg, 225 Paramus Road in Ridgewood. I'm not here to throw anybody under the bus. I'm just going to give my 2 cents and complain a little bit. I joined the grading pool this year, spent a lot of money, only to find out at the end of July we're going to close halfway through the season or halfway through August. I've done a little bit of research, and apparently we interview prospective lifeguards in March and April for the coming summer. And during this interview process, we ask, can you service the whole summer? And if they can't, we know about it way ahead of time. And for some reason, in the first and second week of August, we ran out of lifeguards because they can't work the rest of the summer. I know 2 people that were phys ed teachers in the area that would have worked the whole summer. They weren't even called for interviews. During when our pool was closed, I had the opportunity to go to the River Edge Municipal Pool. They didn't run out of lifeguards at all. I went to the Paramus Pool as a guest. They didn't run out of lifeguards at all. While I was at the River Edge Pool, some man came over to me and shook my hand. I said, hi, who are you? Oh, I'm the manager of the pool. Why are you shaking my hand? Well, I do this every day to see if I can help you or make sure you're having a good time, et cetera, et cetera. I was at our pool a lot this summer. No one ever came and shook my hand. I went to the office many times and asked for the manager. He's not in today. He doesn't start till 2. He's gone home already, things like that. I sent him an email. No, excuse me. I sent the village parks commissioner an email.
Director?
Yes.
Maybe? Okay.
Never got a response. Okay. I don't know who the pool manager reports to, but I don't know, okay? There was one time in July when we had a tremendous rainstorm and the pool or lake was overflowing. and they had to drain it down. It takes about 2 hours to drain it down and get it to the level. Well, the manager came in at 2:30 that day, and by the time it got done, it was 5 o'clock, so they couldn't open the pool at all. If I was the manager, or many people were the manager, okay, maybe they would have come in at 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning, and drained it down so they could open for the day. I just got a problem with, I don't know, okay, when the pool manager is not there, there's some young man in charge. And I don't know if he's covering for the manager or he's telling the truth. Oh, he's coming in late today, or he left already today. Every time. One time I made a suggestion. Let's put the temperature of the water on a bulletin board as you walk in. We don't want to do that. It's too much work.
That's your time is up.
Have a good day.
But, no, actually, I appreciate those comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Siobhan Cram, undergrad, 274 Ivy Place. At the last meeting, there was somewhat of a bizarre suggestion that we should come with brilliant ideas, and after that meeting, because that meeting was made inaccessible, several people reached out to me, and I'm accruing a list of some good ideas in the community that you were unable to hear because people can't dial in. So they're in no particular order. I might not get through all of them. The first is, with respect to Ida, the Village Council should immediately look to create a flood commission. Many other towns are doing it. We're not the only place in New Jersey that floods. There's people who have done better. We should begin to explore the flood commission with skills and talent and look into establishing practices with Blue Acres. You should also look to establish an economic commission to look at the future use of the Shedler House, because I understand that the grant was received, and soon you're going to have to think about how that house is going to generate revenue so it doesn't become a further drain. I love this one. This Village Council should begin to criticize people's ideas and not the people. This Village Council, with respect to access, should look to take meaningful steps to work on the sidewalk cutouts, particularly on the county roads. I'm under the impression, and I may be wrong, that the county is hesitant to pave those roads until the accessibility on the sidewalk is done. Also, in the last week's meeting, there was an allusion to some bullying. Since this council disbanded CRAB, prior to its disbandment, CRAB worked heavily with the Tyler Clementi Foundation, a local foundation that was started here, and this council should each print, take, and promote the Day One initiative to bullying. It states a personal commitment, and I still question and disagree with the idea of disbanding an anti-bias and intimidation board in 2017, but if you're not going to do it, this council should pick that up and partner with the Clementi Foundation. You should be truthful and honest and kind, and when people come here and motivate, you should respond. I understand you don't have to, but Ramon and other mayors did take the time to address people's merits, their issues, and somewhat try to answer. You should also look to respond and place Pride on the 2022 calendar. It should have been there years ago. It should be there this year. And last but not least, for this week, because I'm going to continue to take these are not all my ideas, obviously, I'm plagiarizing them from people, you should restore hybrid. I think these are good ideas, not because I said them, but like I said last week, there are bigger and better ideas and there are solutions out there. There's criticism as well, but you should be open and inclusive. If you can't restore the electronic version, this council should move to receive written comments. And if any of you think written comments cost money, I'd love to hear why. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Walter Cox. I live at 279 Bel Air Road in Ridgewood. I've been a resident for 21 years. I have 2 kids who have graduated from Ridgewood High School, and I have a child who's a student there now and another who's a student at George Washington Middle School. I've been on the board of the Maroon Soccer Club as well as the Ridgewood Soccer Association, and I've been heavily involved with Ridgewood Rugby as well. In my role as a fields representative for Maroons, I work closely with Nancy and Matt at the Parks Department, and I understand that there's a tremendous amount of recovery effort that has taken place after Hurricane Ida, and they have been working very hard on their list of priorities. I would just encourage us to explore every option to find a way to get Maple Field and Vets Field cleaned up so that they're usable. I understand that, or I believe that particularly Vets Field, if some work isn't done on it in this fall, then it could pose a danger to the spring athletic seasons. And I know that Maple Field is one of the premier turf fields in the village, and with it being unusable, it forces a lot of teams to train and practice on grass fields, which forces them to be overused and causes damage. So I would just encourage us to find any way to get the fields cleaned up and usable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Jim Reynolds, 550 Windmere Ave.
Wait, just let us get the beeper moving a minute.
Good evening, Council. I'm sure that you're all familiar with the TV show called Shark Tank. Well, I'm here tonight, rather, in the spirit of that very show. But don't worry, I'm not looking for money or financial backing. I'm looking for something more valuable, time. Let me explain. Nearly 35 years ago, on October 11th, 1986, I married the girl of my dreams. In those 35 years, she and I have raised 3 boys. We're proud of each and every one of them. We raised them right here in the village. In fact, living in Ridgewood has played a huge positive role in our lives. Now, when I'm telling you that I got married all those years ago, what you need to know is that I married up. I married someone that has truly brought out the best in me. Someone that has been supportive and someone who has loved me for all those 35 years, which at times was probably not that easy. That person is Councilwoman Reynolds. So I'm here tonight in front of all you nice folks seeking another 35 years in exchange for a 100% equity of my support, commitment, and love.
Aww.
And to sweeten the deal, I promise to continue to open doors on date night and to even let you hold the remote control. Aww. There's no one I'd rather spend the next 35 years with. So, Councilwoman Reynolds, do we have a deal?
Absolutely.
Okay. Permission to approach the bench? Permission to approach?
Oh, yes, permission granted. Oh, this is so sweet. Oh, my husband is watching. I don't know if my husband's watching. All right. Thank you, and have a good evening. Okay. Anyone else? All right, with that, we'll close public comment. Just a few things. We do want to welcome John Lee and Lee Acupuncture and Herb Clinic at 172 Franklin Ave. We are always receptive to suggestions here at the Village Council. We are open and receptive. I actually encourage folks to email the Village Council directly. That opens up a dialogue between Village Council members to better understand the perspective of the individual making the recommendation. So email, do that. Harry, right? Harry. So I think we're working on some strategies for next summer to make certain that that doesn't happen again, and we certainly hope that Graydon will be able to move forward next summer without interruption. That is really our primary goal next year, so we do have some strategies that we've kind of bounced around and thought about, and hopefully we'll be able to implement. And finally, in terms of bullying, I have to say that I'm actually surprised tonight that there wasn't a commenter coming up here to bully a member of this village council. Week in and week out, as we sit up here on the dais, right, planning board meetings, on Facebook, the bullying is at fever pitch in the village of Ridgewood. It is terrible, and I actually think that somebody shared with me a post referring to a member of our community as an it, that an it shouldn't be allowed to exist in our community. referring to a member of our community as an it. Everybody needs to stop. I hope everybody takes it down a notch. I hope everybody thinks about their children reading what they write, their children emulating their behavior. And not only have I read it on Facebook, I witnessed the bullying firsthand. So let's all bring it down a notch. Let's stop for a second and think about how we treat each other in our community. And those people come to the microphone. Hopefully everyone will think about their behavior as well. All of us, everyone. Let's just bring it down a notch and all be nice and get along. We can agree to disagree, but we certainly can do it respectfully. And with that, we will move to the manager's report.
Okay, the first item I have is an update on the Shedler property and the Zabriskie-Shedler house. As far as the Shedler property, bid documents for the completion of the landscaping attenuation berm along the west edge of the Shedler property have been advertised. Receipt of bids will be October 27th. Principal items in the bid are rough and fine grading of the earth berm, planting of approximately 160 6-foot-tall blue spruce trees on top of the berm and at its base, installation of a water main with 3 fire hydrants to supply the landscaping, irrigation system, and fire protection of the historic house, installation of also installation of an irrigation system with 74 heads to keep the plantings alive, facing the Route 17 northbound side of the berm with boulders, repairing replacement of the guide railing along Route 17 northbound, and installation of a post and 3-rail fence with interior mesh. They have contacted the historical archaeologists to oversee and supervise any excavation work on the site. Determined how to provide connection of the Shedler house to the village's fiber optic network for communication, fire intrusion, alarms, cameras, etc., and they're working to determine the extent of alarms and security for the house, currently accumulating materials for the berm, such as rock and soil, that has passed environmental testing. The Zabriskie-Shedler house, we have been notified by the New Jersey Historic Preservation Trust that we will receive a grant of $499,166 for the restoration and rehabilitation of the interior of the Zabriskie-Shedler house. I want to thank Margaret Hickey of Connolly Hickey Historical Architects for her assistance and guidance in preparing this grant application. After next week's approval of the September 8th public meeting minutes, that's where we had the public hearing on the pre-qualification regulations in connection with the qualifications of prospective bidders for this project. The Historic Architects, Connolly and Hickey, will proceed with the next step in the process, which is having specifications to go out for bid. The next item is we're all in election season, the general election obviously being held in November. Political signs can only be placed on private property. So no political signs can be placed on library property, parks, right-of-way, trees, telephone poles, lighting stations, street or traffic signs, tree wells or planters, water utility property, and or any other publicly owned property. That includes the planting strip between the curb and sidewalks. That's actually public property. They're also not allowed to become a public nuisance. They can't blow along the streets or sidewalks. They're not permitted to become site obstructions to motorists or pedestrians, and they must be removed immediately following the elections. I want to let you know that the general election will have various times to vote. All registered voters should have received a flyer from the county. As a reminder, early voting is new. It will be from October 23rd through October 31st in various locations throughout Bergen County. In addition, in going to the polling locations, there will be e-poll books instead of the paper polling books. So that's a new change for this year. And the final date for voter registration for the November 2nd general election is October 12th at 9 p.m. The village clerk's office will be registering last-minute voters from 4:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. in the lobby of the Ridgewood Library on that day. The League of Women Voters of Ridgewood is hosting 2 candidate forums ahead of the November 2nd election. On Thursday, October 14th at 7:30 at the Ridgewood Education Center. For the Board of Education, incumbent Sheila Brogan, Christopher Kaufman, and Hanju Kwak are up for re-election. Susan Madison and Mohammed Mahmood are also running. There are 3 available spots, and they're for 3-year terms. On Wednesday, October 20th at 7:30, here in the courtroom of Village Hall at 7:30, a forum will be held for the candidates to fill the 3-year unexpired term vacated by Councilwoman Bernadette Walsh. Melanie Huban and Paul Vagianos are the candidates running for this position. Both forums can be attended live or viewed on Channel 33 with files for the Board of Education and Channel 34 for the Village Council. Ridgewood Farmers Market every Sunday, 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the train station. Access Ridgewood 21 Senior Workshop, Preparing for Your Health, Friday, October 8th at the Annie Zuzi Youth Center in Ridgewood Village Hall. There is no fee, but registration is required and can be completed at ridgewoodnj.net/communitypass or in person at the stable at 259 North Maple Avenue. The Ridgewood Chamber of Commerce is sponsoring their Sidewalk Sale Days, October 7th, 8th, and 9th. This will be basically for the various retailers to provide bargains for sale for the end of their summer season. If there's bad weather, the sale will be held inside the stores. This year, the Moms Club will hold an arts and crafts activity fair for young children in Memorial Park at Van Ness Square on Saturday, October 9th. All are invited to the West Side Oktoberfest on Saturday, October 9th and Sunday, October 10th, both beginning at noon in the McMurphy's area parking lot. On the west side, there will be a hayride, a scarecrow decorating contest, a kids' corner, a beer garden at McMurphy's, and music into the night. The annual leaf placement yellow postcard has been sent to all village homes. Leaf placement will begin on October 18th in Area B and on various other dates in other areas. Please remember that the dates on the postcard for your area are for leaf placement only. Our leaf pickup crew will come through your area after the expiration of the leaf placement dates. Do not place leaves out for pickup past the leaf placement date on the postcard. Instead, wait for your next leaf placement date to put out additional leaves for pickup. The train station coffee concession has reopened and is ready to serve both former and new train commuters. The Chamber of Commerce presents a Halloween parade for kids, parents, grandparents, and friends on Saturday, October 30th, weather permitting, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Memorial Park at Van Ness Square. All are invited, and come and meet the Good Witch and more. Ridgewood residents received a fall listing of recreation programs and health offerings for those 55 and older, a variety of healthy food recipes, explore Chinese brush painting, and numerous card games. You have opportunities to sign up for tennis and pickleball programs. Most of the programs are held in the community center in the lower level of Village Hall. Green Ridgewood is sponsoring a packing styrofoam collection drive on Saturday, October 16th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Graden Pool parking lot. The rain date is October 23rd. For those who plan ahead, the village is sponsoring a free mobile shredding event on Saturday, November 6th at the Graden Pool parking lot from 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. or until the truck is full. Limited 4 file boxes per car. Documents will be securely shredded. No plastic bags or binder clips. All village offices will be closed on Monday, October 11th in observance of Columbus Day. There will be no garbage or recycling pickup on that day, and the recycling center will also be closed. Please check your village calendar, as the garbage pickup dates for that week are different due to the holiday. Village Council upcoming meetings are October 13th is our council public meeting at 8 o'clock. October 27th is a public work session at 7:30. November 3rd is a public work session at 7:30, and then November 10th is the Village Council public meeting. That's all I have.
Thank you. I just have one quick question. On the hayride, my recollection is that we were going to notice the folks along
Right.
the route. Do we know if anyone did that?
I don't know. I'll have to check. I thought the committee was going to do that.
I thought it was the committee as well. That was my understanding, and I guess we received an email today from a resident who appears not to have been notified. So
Okay.
I think we should
Okay.
confirm, because last year we did have a great deal of complaints, and we thought we would mitigate that by... Sorry, thank you, Warwick, I'm sorry. can we check on that, whether or not those notices went out? Because last year we did have a number of complaints. We've already received one, and we thought that sending that notice out to those folks who live along that route would mitigate the complaints. So hopefully they've done that. Otherwise, we have to address that.
Okay.
Good, thank you. Councilwoman Perrin?
Thank you, Mayor. The Open Space Committee met, and we had a lively discussion about the possible acquisition of the town garage property at 120 Franklin Avenue for the purpose of creating a park. Some members had concerns, expressed their reservations, but generally, overall, we had a consensus in favor of acquisition for the purpose of creating a park. With regard to one of our open spaces, I want to thank the Ridgewood AM Rotary Club for Saturday's trail maintenance event. We laid about 100 cubic yards of wood chips to refurbish the trail around the pond, and we also had the help of Project Interact students, about 10 of them from Ridgewood High School, and they really lived up to their motto of service above self. They spent a lovely Saturday not hanging out, not having fun, but raking and lugging and wheeling. And also, I should thank two of the Parks Department employees, Victor Carlo and Scott Dahlheim, who carted away a lot of debris and really helped us. They had the power tools, and they were a great help. So thanks to Rotary, Interact, and the Parks Department.
Okay. Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. So the Come Together Ridgewood event went off Saturday at the east side of the train station. The Ridgewood Arts Council worked tirelessly over the course of months, and there was a lot of bumps along the way, and the plan changed a little bit, but it did go off that day, and it was fairly successful. Everybody who showed up had a good time. A lot of people came in, they stopped by, so I definitely would like to thank the village manager, the mayor and council, town employees, the Arts Council. Dana Glazer and Sherry Frank co-chair the Arts Council, and we worked again for months. And Arts Council member Frank Del Vecchio, who did a fantastic job at fundraising and got the stage constructed on site that morning, completely from scratch. And then I'd also like to thank village employee from the Signal Department, Jeremy Pirelli, who showed up after the event, and then he and I took the stage apart, screw by screw, and stored it in the truck. And it's now the village has it, so if we need a wooden stage, we could put it back together. And we got it disassembled in less than an hour. So it was a big help that he showed up, and everybody else I'd like to thank who showed up, and everybody if I missed, thank you for your efforts. It was a great event, and that's all I have.
So I'm going to disagree. I don't think it was fairly successful. I think it was actually hugely successful. And thank you, and thank Frank and everyone else, Dana, Sherry, and Audrey, everyone who participated. I actually think it was an amazing event. And as I said in my comments, I hope we can use that as a template for future events in that same location. It was absolutely wonderful. So great job, everyone. Councilwoman Reynolds.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, let me reiterate. I went on Saturday, and the event was great. I had a good time. The music was terrific, well attended. It was excellent. And I also want to thank anyone who was involved in the grant application for Shedler. It's fabulous to get $499,000. It's amazing and wonderful, and that's exciting. Okay, so the planning board met last night. We continued the application for 315 East Glen Avenue, Tasco Enterprises. We're very close to an agreement, and it should be concluded on November 2nd. There's two things going on with the Valley Hospital. The first is there was a settlement agreement back in 2016. And it required Ridgewood, the court required that we rezone the H zone to permit what is currently on the site there now. We have not done that yet, but our planner, Beth McManus, is crafting an ordinance to go along with this agreement. The council will be discussing this tonight, and then it will go back to the planning board on October 19th. And then the council will introduce the ordinance on October 27th, and the public hearing and adoption will be December 8th. In addition to that, there was a settlement agreement with Fair Share Housing in 2018 that needs some action. The planning board will undertake an investigation to determine if the property may be designated as an area in need of redevelopment. If it is deemed an area in need of redevelopment, then the governing body will authorize preparation of a redevelopment plan, which establishes the land development goals and objectives of the municipality. This redevelopment plan would only come into play if Valley Hospital no longer owns the property. So I know a lot of people are concerned about that, but if Valley Hospital stays and uses it as outpatient services, urgent care, things like that, the redevelopment plan is just going to be, sitting there. The mayor may have more to add to this. She's been very involved, and it's very complicated, and I tried to condense it. So hopefully I did a good job. We also had a discussion regarding a proposed ordinance to amend Chapter 190 of the Village Code, authorizing and engaging electric vehicle supply service equipment, better known as EVSE, and make-ready parking spaces. A make-ready parking space is the pre-wiring of the electrical infrastructure at a parking space to facilitate easy and cost-efficient future installation of the EVSE. I'm sorry, I can't, my glasses are fogging up. I can't see anymore.
Can we just take a time out there?
Okay. All right. The state is requiring certain things and leaving it up to the municipalities on how to implement and enforce them. One of the things that the state is requiring for the new installation of EVSE and make-ready parking spaces is for dwellings with 5 or more units. They must have at least 15% make-ready parking spaces and install EVSE in at least 1/3 of that 15% to start off with. And then within 3 years following the issuance of the certificate of occupancy, they must install an additional 1/3 of the original 15% of make-ready parking spaces. And then within 6 years, they have to do the final 1/3. So within 6 years, 15% of the parking spaces will be EVSE. Let's see. The state is also requiring that only electric vehicles will be able to park in those spaces and only when they are charging. So if there is a space and there's an electric vehicle that wants to come in and park, they can't park there unless they need and are physically charging their vehicles. There's also 3 different types of EVSE and different costs associated with each of those. The first is a 15 to 20 amp breaker and 120 volt AC. The second would operate on a 40 to 100 amp breaker, on a 208 or 240 volt AC circuit. And the last one is a direct current fast charger, which operates on 60 amps or higher on a 480 volt or higher 3-phase circuit. That sounds very complicated. That's the one that's most expensive, and that's the rapid charging one. There's much to learn and discuss about this, so I'm sure you'll be hearing about that in the future. The next planning board meeting will be October 19th, which is also our second outreach work session for the master plan. So hopefully a lot of people will join us and see that. That's it. Thank you.
That's it. Great. Thank you. I don't have anything to add. I think you did a really good job with that. It is very complicated. The 2 settlement agreements, the ordinance, and the area in need of redevelopment, but you did a really great job, so it's,
Thank you.
some of us have lived it. Okay, so I just have really one super exciting thing to announce. Access Ridgewood 21 is virtual event. It's action-packed weekend this weekend for our special needs community. Everyone is welcome to join virtually or live. We have a number of items on the agenda. We have the Seeing Eye Dog Educational Program, Marlene Pillow Family Concert. We love Marlene Pillow. The Access Fashion Show, Ridgewood Sharing the Arts, Friends of Friends Church. So we have a whole bunch of things. I invite everyone to visit the ridgewoodlibrary.org/access weekend for a full schedule of events, and we can get that up on the village website too. And we invite, again, everyone, please join us. It's an amazing weekend. And while we every day appreciate our friends and family who are members of the special needs community, this particular weekend is an opportunity to showcase their incredible talents, everything from fashion style to singing. It's a wonderful, wonderful weekend. We've been doing this for a pretty long time now, for a lot of years, and we're really excited about that. And with that, we will go on to our discussion.
Okay, our first item under budget is the refurbishment of tree wells and planting of trees in the Central Business District. The Ridgewood Shade Tree Commission and Parks and Recreation Department have indicated the need to refurbish the tree wells in the CBD. The first area to be looked at and done will be East Ridgewood Avenue, starting at Maple Avenue to Cottage Place. This includes the removal of 11 trees and 22 stumps along East Ridgewood Avenue, removal and disposing of all debris, excavation of 22 planting wells. The existing soil will be removed, and each tree well will be filled with a mixture of topsoil, sand, and compost. Supply and installing the 22 2-2 5-inch caliper trees. Each tree will be fertilized, mulch, staked, and Gator bag will be provided. Each tree well will have 2 4-inch perforated plastic pipes installed to a depth of 30 inches for watering. 3 quotes for this project have been received. The lowest responsible quote is from, I believe it's Today Landscaping Contractors of Midland Park, New Jersey, not to exceed $23,727.27. The Parks Department has had previous experience, positive experience with this contractor, and they also provided the lowest quote. The funding is out of a previously adopted capital ordinance.
Okay, so I just have, are you done with that? Because I have 2 questions. So I don't know if Nancy can answer. So 2 things. I noticed on the, that they are 22 trident maple trees.
Maples are too big.
Maybe, can you come up to the microphone?
Yeah, you come on.
Am I reading? It does say that, right?
It does.
So,
yeah.
and,
Yeah.
so I had a couple of questions. So let me just ask my questions, and then you can answer. So I see it's 22 trident maple trees. The one thing I learned from Chris Rudishauser when we were doing the garage is that you don't put the same trees all in a row. And then, because if one gets diseased, then they all get diseased. And the other question was about, on the soil, the topsoil, sand, and compost planting mix. I just was curious about the structured soil. Yeah, so go ahead. Is that microphone on? Make sure the microphone's on.
And please just identify yourself as well.
Carolyn Jacoby, 160 Godwin Avenue, member of the Ridgewood Shade Tree Commission. Nancy, do you want me to answer?
Yes, please.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. You made excellent, those are very important points. When the bid was going out, just to get a sense of the cost, because the cost of a trident maple will be approximate cost of any 2 to 2.5 inch caliber ball and burlap tree. However, those trident maples are not going. They were used as an example. Declan is the town arborist, and he is now considering, I think, about 5 or 6 different species and varieties that will go into those 22 tree wells. In terms of the composition of the soil, Structural soil is a whole different concept. We use that as an example under the trees that were planted by the new garage. However, this is just contained ceramic pots that the tree wells are. At the garage, the structured soil, it goes under the brick walkways. That's a different concept. What we are applying now is a refurbishment of the soil so that the trees can grow in it. Unfortunately, the current soil in most of the tree wells is really just construction debris that was put in. It was not a very well thought through process. So by removing everything that's in the wells now and replacing it with a combination of topsoil, sand, and compost is the medium in which the trees can really grow and thrive. So that's what's going to be done.
Okay, and then one last question. What is the projected timeline to completion if we, based on when the trees arrive? I think we're all really anxious for this and really excited. So what is
We are. Well, when are you going? It depends when you vote to approve the. Is that happening tonight?
Tonight.
Once it's approved, then Declan can go out and get the trees priced. It's only 22 trees, and I'm sure locally he'll be able to get those at this time. I think that the contractor is ready to go when we are ready to go. So I'm hoping it will be done maybe before Thanksgiving. And I'm saying this, that's aspirational. I'm making that up. Don't hold me to it. But it would be wonderful if it could be done within the next month. If not, certainly before the Christmas tree lighting, I would certainly hope it will be, and so everyone can enjoy it and see it, and it will make a huge difference on the appearance.
Anyone else questions?
I do.
Oh.
Hi, Carolyn.
Hi,
Thank
Lorraine.
you. Can you just explain the 2 4-inch perforated plastic pipes? I mean, it's just going to be 2 pipes installed
Right.
on
What
either
they are will be PCV piping that goes down to the roots. It allows for water to go through the roots. There is a not a grill, but a grid on top at the surface so that debris doesn't get in there. It's not a 4-inch hole. It will be like a little grill over it. Right, and that will allow the rainwater to go down to the roots as much as we possibly can, short of any other type of an irrigation system, other than the very needed Gator bags that will be on it, and that's another follow-up to this about the importance, the critical importance of watering those trees with about 20 to 25 gallons of water weekly for the next 2 years.
That was my next question. Who is going to be responsible for keeping
That
the
is a
Gator bags?
discussion that needs to be followed up because it is not in the quote packet that I see. So we will really, Shade Tree Commission is meeting next Tuesday, and we hope to have that resolved in terms of funding, where we'll get the funding, and working with Nancy and her team to ensure, because that will determine
Right.
how these trees survive. And they will survive. If there's anything, we're laying down our lives on those tree wells, but they will. But it is the watering that is absolutely most critical.
Right.
to
So
determine.
the next question is the combination of the Gator bags and those perforated pipes considered an irrigation system?
That is what we will have. If there is consistent water now, trees need about an inch and a half of water a week when they're first newer trees. For the volume, the estimated volume, soil volume in those wells, 4 by 4, average by 30 inch deep. Having those Gator bags filled weekly should be sufficient. If we get another 6 inches of rain in 1 week, clearly we're not going to have to water and the irrigation. But having the Gator bags plus those irrigation piping should be sufficient.
But what I'm getting at is because in the estimate from Tody, it specifically says the trees are not guaranteed if you don't have an irrigation system. So are they going to consider that this is an irrigation system?
Yeah, I mean,
will.
an irrigation is a Gator bag. They're going to put the Gator bag on it. What they are saying that if we do not water those trees,
Okay, great.
they will.
Thank
survive.
you.
Sure.
I'm so pleased that the Shade Tree Commission and Councilman Seaton have come up with a start, because we've been talking about this for years and years and years. And, you know, if we could do a little bit like this every year, we could eventually refurbish all the tree wells. And to that point, has the Shade Tree Commission come up with an overall plan for the whole town? Or could you?
You ask, we will. Yes, it's something that I think, in terms of running parallel now with the master planning that is going on, and hopefully working with the folks on that project, that they will seek us out, and we will, in fact, turn to them to say, what does the central business district look like? And certainly the trees will be an important component of that streetscape. I think what we are doing now, initially, just refurbishing and showing that with proper care, right tree in the right place, with proper maintenance and water, trees, shade trees can survive in our downtown and will make a huge difference in terms of the whole environment and certainly the temperature, so that people will be would want to spend more time like they do in front of Van Nest, right? Mm-hmm. And hopefully we will, public and private partnerships perhaps, we can get more wells planted, different varieties, and create a beautiful downtown.
And my understanding is that our arborist will oversee the planting of each tree. Is that right?
That is, you know, again, that has to do with personnel, and I defer to Nancy on that, about how that's going to be done. Hopefully it's only 22 trees. I mean,
well, as you were aware also, Councilwoman, because you participated in the fall tree planting last year, when you came out along with other members of the Shade Tree Commission and watched the crew physically plant the trees on Orchard Place. Supervision is a big component of what we're doing. Our arborist, Parks employee Declan Madden, also has given a tutorial to the crews that show up, instructing them in the proper method, the depth, the height, balled and burlapped, the process involved, you know, the width, the depth of the hole, mulch, just so that we can move forward in a positive way and plant these trees properly.
Great.
I just had I don't have any questions since I've been involved in this for quite some time. So as much of an advocate as I've been for tree planting for the past 7.5 years, I've been just as much of an advocate for not planting any trees in the central business district unless we were going to do it correctly, because you're just basically throwing taxpayers' money down a hole to put a tree in a pit that's not going to survive past a year or two. So there's a lot of history, and I think we have a plan pretty much for the entire downtown. There's 219 tree wells. And we started out with Andrew Lowry, the chair of the Shade Tree Commission, has really been pushing for this for a very long time. He and Ian Keller, and I believe Declan was there, and several employees excavated a pit a couple of years ago. And that's when we discovered there are chunks of brick and concrete and what they would call historic fill So however many decades ago when they were planning the tree pits downtown, whatever construction debris was in a pile in some yard somewhere ended up in the pits, and they put some trees in and said, all right, that's it. So it's not really conducive for trees to survive in the downtown. We did a couple test plantings. I think there was 3 of them. One off the top of my head I know is on the corner of East Ridgewood Avenue and Chestnut. And that had the drains with the covers in that went down to the roots. So, you know, that could be applied to all 219 tree wells. Then we got rid of the brick bands that nobody liked, and we were trying to say they needed to go for years so that they were acting as a dam, that water would not roll in off the sidewalk, and then people would trip over them and hit their cars off of them. So they were pretty much terrible. So we got rid of all of that, and I'm really excited to see this project come through. I'd like to thank Bob Rooney, the CFO, and the mayor for finding funding this year to make it happen. As you know, we lost most of our tree planting fundings because we had to take down a lot of ash trees because of the emerald ash borer. But I think this is going to be really positive. People will see it. It's right when you enter the business district on the east side. So, you know, right there on Maple Avenue, you're going to see 22 tree wells planted and hopefully thriving in the next few years, and then we'll get more support and people will get excited and we'll be able to plant more trees and eventually make our way through to I mean, some of the tree wells, the trees are doing well, they're surviving, but you know, not too many of them, so we don't have to replant all 219 tree wells, but we're going to have to do this for a majority of them. And then once those trees do reach the end of their lives, we'll have to go back and apply this plan. But you know, the Shade Tree Commission again has been working on this and advocating for it for years, and this first project is going to be great, and I look forward to you know, budgeting this and being able to continue it until we get the entire central business district where it needs to be as far as tree coverage. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And I just have one last question. How much water fits in a Gator bag?
Depends on the size of the Gator, between about 20 gallons to 25 gallons on the Gator bags that we have now. And that's a fill. Takes about 6 to 8 hours for it to drip down very slowly. And it should be filled up as needed.
And we have a supply of those, I take it. Good. All right, great.
We have a lot of Gator bags.
Okay, well, I'm going to thank the Deputy Mayor because he's our accidental, by default, green guy, and he has just done an amazing job over the past 7.5 years. So, and thank you to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're really so excited.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item is regarding the effects of Hurricane Ida on the village municipal fields and recreational facilities and parklands. Overflow of water from the Hocus Brook, along with a continual flow from the municipal stormwater drainage system, saturated and filled the floodplain of the village parklands located at Maple Park, Veterans Field, and Graydon Pool. After the stormwaters receded, obviously there are remediation options for what occurred on these fields. So there was excessive silt, sludge, and microbes and bacteria contained within. There are separate contracts required for the synthetic turf field and natural turf fields and fencing. So for the remediation of the Maple Park turf field, it would include removing all sand and debris from the field, reset all wrinkles within the fabric material, repair all seam separations and inlay, power sweep the entire field surface to remove deeper layer of silt, apply disinfectant to synthetic material, rejuvenate and decompact the infill, and straighten the lines and align the field markings. Land Tech Group of Bayshore, New York, is to be awarded the contract in an amount not to exceed $112,485. The natural grass area throughout Veterans Field also must be remediated. This will include removal of all debris, trash and silt, install screen topsoil in disturbed areas, reseed the entire surface and install straw where needed, and use a power broom to clear all paved surfaces and dispose of all debris. This contract is to be awarded to Manila Landscape Industries of Wayne, New Jersey, in an amount not to exceed $22,146.80. In addition to the overall field remediation, individual site-specific work is required to make the individual field safe for play. This would include the 2 softball fields and the 90-foot baseball diamond at Veterans Field. And then at Maple Park, the netting running the length of the field, which separates the field from the parking lot, was destroyed and should be replaced. So the remediation, restoration of the 2 softball fields and the 90-foot baseball diamond will be awarded to Tri-County Property Maintenance, the Athletic Field Division, and they're from Oakland, New Jersey, in the amount not to exceed $41,920. The replacement and reconstruction of the Maple Park sports netting is to be awarded to Anchor Fence Contractors, Inc. of Hillsdale, New Jersey, not to exceed $9,250. These are all being paid for out of the emergency appropriation, which we're considering. The capital ordinances being introduced in next week's public meeting will cover other damage done by Hurricane Ida.
I have a couple of questions.
It's okay.
Thank you for putting this together. The maple turf field is beautiful. It was beautiful till this. What was the cost of that?
Approximately $500,000.
So, and I believe we installed that, was it 2019?
18.
18. So when I'm looking at the repair cost of the turf field and then the repair to the Vets field, and I'm just asking, it's just kind of like an exercise in just understanding better what the cost is in terms of the product that we're working with. If Maple had been a grass field, would the cost be similar to Vets Field, or would we still be talking in that $100,000 price range?
I think that it would be a compromise between the two, understanding that the depth of the mud and the silt compacted on a synthetic surface is easier to remove than it would be on the natural surface. Underneath the synthetic is a drainage system that is quite complex. It's several layers of infill and then gravel, so that the drainage is possible, whereas you could see with the Board of Ed experienced a couple of weeks ago that Brookside is not drying out. Right. And that was and has been the problem with Maple, is that because it is in the floodway, it maintains the water volume and it stays wet longer.
Okay. And then my other question is, once this is approved, how quickly will the field be back up and operating?
Well, depending on the weather and the contracts being signed tonight or tomorrow, the crew are anticipating being able to come in possibly Friday, and then the beginning of next week. So they're basing it 3 to 5 days of work that are needed.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any warranty from the manufacturer or the installer of the maple turf field?
We do, but it is not upheld for flooding.
Do we have insurance?
I would say so, but I'm not certain. The village, I would be certain that our facilities are insured, but I don't know the details.
We've sent everything that's covered under flood insurance to our risk management advisors, and so they will then submit it to the JIF. So that's already been submitted to them.
And then with regard to the Tri-County Property Maintenance Contract that comes to $41,920, did we have to bid that out?
No. This is all emergency appropriation.
Oh, and that's an exception? Okay. And I understand that because Tri-County is bringing in heavy equipment, they're going to ask to have the walking path closed off. Can we give people notice that that's going to happen?
We have already moved ahead with that, Councilwoman. We have prepared, once approval is given for us to move forward and we have the actual start dates, we do have signage that was made. We've got barricades ready to delineate the areas. We were hoping to be able to send out some email blast and notify our residents of this remediation work, and the sooner we can get started, the quicker we'll get finished.
Okay, I know the hospital has that walking program.
Yes.
And I wanted to make
Our
sure that they
facilities
know.
are used all the time.
Okay, that's all the questions I have.
I have a question. I think it's just a mistake. So on the Manello landscape, which is for Vets Field in the amount of $22,146.80, the bid that's attached to it has that exact amount, but it says cleanup of football field and Stevens Field.
I'm sorry, Stevens?
Yeah, I know.
Okay,
That's why
maybe
it's the
I had the wrong
proposal
one.
that's attached.
Maybe I forwarded the wrong one. This is, my remediation file is in front of me. Let me take another look at what
Okay.
you have.
So I don't know whether the dollar figure is, I mean, because on the proposal,
Okay,
it says football field and Stevens Field for 22,000 and change. So I don't have a proposal for Vets Field.
I don't, okay, I have, oh, you're right. So it is just the football field at Veterans Field. So really what we're looking at is the open area in front of the cash-out shell. All of the green natural grass is where we're looking to maintain that natural grass. That was a typo on our part. It should read Veterans Field.
No, but it's on their proposal. It says Manello at the top of it.
I agree. I see it. I have it in front of me.
Okay. So that should say.
It should say Veterans Field.
Okay.
It's the football area, so when I walked out there with them, that's how I explained that to them.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because there are 3 softball fields, a 90-foot field, and what we referred that to is the football field, so that they knew the area that we were discussing.
Okay.
Do you know if the DEP or the county has any regional investigation or plan going forward for regulating the flow of the Hohokus Brook during storms, or Saddle River for that matter?
That most likely would be an engineering conversation.
Okay. I'm very curious to know what, what
Understandably.
they're thinking on a
Sure.
broader basis.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, I did, Heather. I'm curious because I was listening to the Board of Ed meetings, and I believe they said that their insurance is a $50,000 deductible. So do we know, like, what kind of insurance they have versus what we have?
I don't know. I don't know if they're a member of some kind of joint insurance fund or not. I can certainly find out, but I
Yeah,
haven't.
because, I mean, a $50,000 deductible sounds real good when we're talking about $122,000.
Right, right. I mean, I can talk to them and find out more.
Okay, thank you.
We'll be applying to FEMA also, won't we?
We have
Great.
already, but we see that FEMA money 2 or 3 years from now.
I have one more question. Is there a reason that the fire department is the address on this?
It would be the Parks Division. We all share the same address.
Oh, okay.
Recycling, fire, and parks
Got it,
all are
okay.
at
I don't think I've
203.
ever seen that before. It's
203
kind of
East Glen Avenue.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Yes.
All right. It was odd because Councilwoman Reynolds pointed out Stevens, and then I thought, well, it says the job site is at 203, so it was kind of a little all over the place. But that's fine. It's all good. Let's get it done, right?
Yes.
Anxious to get it done.
Okay, the next item is a change order for the village phone system. I'm going to have Dylan Hanson come up and explain what the change order is for. Thank you, Nancy.
Good evening. When we spec'd out the phone system, we forgot one card in the gateway to accept another type of line called the PRI line, which is what comes into the village of Ridgewood. So we got the cards for the other lines, but it was an oversight on my part, and we forgot to put it into the spec sheet. So this is my first change order ever. I'd like to note that.
Okay, don't let it happen again. No, it's our mistake, because I know we went through that whole thing with everything, trying to compare.
This is the only
and
part
so
for the
as long as
controller.
it's on us, it's fine, okay.
So,
Any questions, anyone?
Okay.
All right.
The next one is authorizing the application for the Recreational Opportunities for Individuals with Disabilities grant for the fiscal year 2022. We've done this for 3 or 4 years, I know. This one in particular is entitled Leap into the Real World 2022. It's $20,000 in state funding. It requires a $4,000 match from the village. It will provide programming for elementary age students, young adults, and their families. They'll focus on socialization with their peers, practicing everyday life skills such as riding the train, ordering at a restaurant, getting pulled over by the police, and visiting museums. While offered to all, the programming is specifically geared to those residents with special needs.
So I'm just going to say this is one of our favorite grant opportunities because the Access group and all the special needs family and friends are all so delighted when there are opportunities for the special needs community from the Royds program. So we're always excited about that.
Okay. That's all we have prior to this special public meeting.
Okay, so let me just make sure I get it all right. Let's see. So we'll take a motion to suspend the work session and convene a special public meeting, right?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Okay, with that. Village Council Special Public Meeting, October 6, 2021. The time is 8:45 p.m. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in Village Hall, by mail to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled to same as provided by law of a schedule including the date and time of this meeting. Roll call.
Councilwoman Perrin?
Here.
Councilwoman Reynolds?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Seaton?
Here.
Mayor Knudsen?
Here.
The following resolutions numbered 21-288 through 21-296 are to be adopted by a consent agenda with one vote by the Village Council. There is a brief description beside each resolution to be considered on the consent agenda. Each resolution will be read by title only. 21-288, authorize emergency appropriation, repair of damages due to Hurricane Ida. 21-289, award contract tree well refurbishment and tree planting in the Central Business District. 21-290, award contract Maple Park turf field remediation due to Hurricane Ida. 21-291, award contract replacement and reconstruction of Maple Park sports netting due to Hurricane Ida. 21-292, award contract Veterans Field remediation due to Hurricane Ida. 21-293, authorized change order PRI lines phone system. 21-294, approve submission of application for recreational opportunities for individuals with disability, ROID grant. 21-295, authorize emergency appropriation, down payment for bond ordinance authorizing various capital improvements due to damages from Hurricane Ida. 21-296, award contract refurbishment of Veterans Field, 2 softball fields and baseball diamond due to Hurricane Ida. May I have a motion to accept consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote. Perrin?
Yes.
Reynolds?
Yes.
Seaton?
Yes.
And Knudsen?
Yes. So you need a motion to adjourn the special public meeting?
So moved.
Being.
and reconvene our workshop.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
And with that, we're going to go on. Do we have a presentation tonight?
I'm just going to read it. The Conservancy for Ridgewood Public Lands is seeking the approval of the council to restore the Ridgewood Parkland along North Broad Street. This will include incorporating flowering shrubs and trees that will give color in all seasons, containers for added enhancement and additional seating, and there will be naming opportunities for benches, planters, and trees. This, again, is the most recent in many improvements that the Conservancy for Ridgewood Public Lands has done for the village. Recent ones include the Butterfly Meadow at 20 Pond, the Children Butterfly and Sensory Garden, including the 2021 installation of musical instruments, the planting of 1,000 daffodil bulbs and 1,000 daylilies at the 9/11 Memorial Alley, and the renewal of Memorial Park at Van Ness Square. So we're just looking for the approval for them to go out and pursue this improvement.
So in our packet, I think we had images of what that would look like. We had some nice things. Can we put that? Yeah. I just didn't want to switch my screen. Sorry. So can we actually put that on the village website under like project folder or something?
Sure.
So people are aware that the Conservancy is doing this particular project, because it's a nice one, as all of them are, but it's a particularly
Yep.
exciting.
We could do that.
Thank you.
Okay. The next items are under Ridgewood Water. We have, in anticipation of continuing the PFAS treatment surcharge in 2022, to help fund the debt associated with the new treatment for PFAS, Ridgewood Water requires the service of a rate expert. As in the past, we're looking to hire the firm of Howard J. Woods Jr. and Associates of East Brunswick, New Jersey. This will be amount not to exceed $9,000. He's being chosen based on their familiarity with Ridgewood's water budget needs, prior experience in the water rate setting environment, and successful past project work for the village. Mr. Woods will assist Ridgewood Water in developing an equitable surcharge balance with the budget and any water volume rate changes for 2022. Funding is in the water utility operating budget. Okay. The next one is the North Jersey Wastewater Cooperative Pricing System, maintenance of pumps and motors, repairs, replacement, and installation. This is a cooperative pricing system. What's to be purchased are 18 flow meters to replace meters located at various system wells. It will exceed $17,500. The cooperative pricing entity is Neal Systems, Inc. of Newtown, Pennsylvania. It'll be an amount not to exceed $57,663.97, and funding is in the Water Department operating budget.
Questions?
The next item is awarding a bid for PFAS treatment design for 20 treatment facility. September 1st, 10 bids were picked up, and then on September 1st, 6 bids were received for the PFAS treatment designs for the 20 treatment facility. This will require rehabilitation of 2 existing granular activated carbon units at the site, installation of all internal component piping valves and appurtenances for the GAC units, modification of influent and effluent piping, valves and appurtenances, cleaning and disinfection of the existing interstage clear well, and replacement of the existing interstage pump and other necessary components. The lowest responsible bidder is Pact 2 LLC of Ringgoes, New Jersey, and they, Mott McDonald is the engineer of record. They are recommending the low bidder, and the total amount is $532,000.
Okay. Questions?
Is this for design only?
This is for design.
$500,000.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
And the construction?
We bid it after the design. The next item is rejecting the bid for furnishing and delivering of pipes and appurtenances and service materials. September 28th, 4 bid specifications were picked up, and then 3 bids were received and opened. Upon reviewing the open bids, it was discovered that 1 bid had actually remained unopened. Mr. Calby is recommending rejection of the bids received. The project will be rebid for an opening in late October or early November. Okay.
A bid was unopened.
I'm sorry?
A bid remained unopened?
They found a bid after the fact that had arrived timely. So
Okay.
it was an oversight. The next item is under budget. In accordance with NJSA 48:5-17.1, which permits the governing body of the Village of Ridgewood to adopt a resolution authorizing the village tax collector to process without further action on the part of such governing body cancellation of delinquent property taxes or refunds in the amount less than $10. So it's similar to an over and short in a bank, and it's a minimal amount. The next is the repairs of the Ridgewood Railroad Station taxi stand. Several years ago, a car drove through the taxi stand. This was actually the second time this happened. We did receive quotes in late August. 3 contractors qualified in the restoration of historic buildings were contacted. And the lowest quote is from a firm that did the restoration work for the Graydon bathrooms, which is Triplex Industries, Inc. of South Amboy, New Jersey. The amount is not to exceed $35,500. There is funding in the capital ordinance. And then at a later date, the protective bollards for the taxi stand will be looked at separately and considered for award. We don't have bollards there currently because we've had 2 cars drive into it. We think that's probably very wise to have going forward.
I have a question, Heather.
Sure.
So how come insurance isn't?
I'm sorry.
How come the insurance, whoever drove into the taxi
It was an
stand?
elderly man, and there was minimal insurance, and there wasn't much that we could get from that person, unfortunately, through
Okay.
subrogation. There was not much that we could get back.
And do we have a viable taxi service that functions out of that building?
We don't, but we are looking at other uses for that building.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And the damage itself, was it mostly to that pillar that's close to the curb? Or did it actually hit the door?
I don't know the full extent of it. I can certainly have Mr. Rodeshauser, provide that.
It's not a rush, yeah.
Okay. Do you remember, Matt?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I recall it just coming into the front and hitting the front pillars, and that's really what it was.
Okay. But I'll just have it sent to all of you so that you're aware.
So I think we should get the bollards as soon as possible.
I agree.
Presumably, they would go kind of nicely, but across the whole front,
Correct.
because this is a lot of money.
I agree.
And it's a
And-
historic building.
And it's the second time.
I was going to say, and it's the second time.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I guess I would imagine that the bollard would result in less damage to the vehicle, too. I mean,
Probably not. I mean,
I mean, I don't
they're
really
solid.
know. I
If
mean,
a
I
car
don't-
drives into it,
Yeah, I
that's
don't
like
know.
hitting a telephone pole or a tree or
Yeah.
something like that. The car's going to,
Well,
depending on how fast it's going.
It depends on which kind of bollards you get, right? Didn't we see that they had different levels of,
Yeah.
of accident,
Yeah.
impact resistance?
Yeah. But I think we should get that taken care of
I
as soon as
agree.
possible. Okay.
Okay, the next one is the permanent license software for the Health and Building Department, Spatial Data Logic. Currently, we have 25 seats, which means 25 users, and the renewal price for 2021 is $32,500. The original state contract vendor expired earlier this year. Mr. Hanson went out for 3 quotes. It's the same price to go directly to Spatial Data Logic and award it to them. So the recommendation is to go to Spatial Data Logic, Inc. of Somerset, New Jersey, in an amount not to exceed $32,500, and funding is in the operating account of IT.
Okay. questions?
And then the last one is operations, discussion of the hospital zone development regulations. Mayor Knudsen, I know you had asked, or Mr. Rogers, one of you, asked for this to be on.
You asked for it, I think, to be on.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter, we can talk. Yeah, let's talk
I mean,
about it.
I think it's probably helpful for you to bring everyone into the loop, because we have two newer council members who weren't here at the time that this took place. We have a draft ordinance, we have some additional input. We have a conflict planner and our regular village planner, so we have additional input from our village planner. So Matt, if you want to just explain all of it for our newer council members and for, the world, it would be helpful.
Yeah, I think one of the first things that everybody has to realize is that there is going to be two separate processes with regard to our affordable housing component for the town, and also with regard to the settlement of litigation with Valley Hospital. They're going to be done simultaneously, so it's important that everybody understand that they are two separate things. And if many may recall, many may not be aware, that there was litigation between the village and Valley Hospital with regard to a proposed expansion by Valley Hospital. There was a settlement agreement reached, and one of the things that we're going to be doing is introducing an ordinance consistent with that settlement agreement, which basically allows for the existing facility at the Linwood Avenue campus, Valley Hospital campus, to be a conforming facility, which means that in the past, anytime Valley Hospital had to do anything, the criteria for development on the property was limited by the existing H zone, which was a zone that was adopted by ordinance many, many years before. So anything that they did would be basically an expansion of a non-conforming use on the property, and they needed certain criteria. They had to go to the zoning board each time. So one of the issues that we tried to straighten out with Valley Hospital as a result of the litigation was to make that more appropriate to the present-day development that's on the site, and adopt an ordinance that lists as its criteria the aspects of the facilities that are there presently, so that everything that is there presently would fit within the parameters of the new ordinance. And we're also aware at that time that Valley Hospital was in the process of developing, or at least purchasing and then developing, the property over in Paramus, where the new Valley Hospital is going to set up once they're done with development there and get their certificate of need and everything switched over to Paramus. The other aspect of this is that in our, as a result of the Mount Laurel decision and the obligation of the village and every town in New Jersey to provide for affordable housing, the courts, through the court system and our declaratory judgment action that we filed, we reached a settlement agreement that was accepted by the court with four interveners and the Fair Share Housing Center that was approved by the court, that requires certain development and ordinance changes that would allow for affordable housing to be developed in the town. Some of those changes had occurred at the time, which you've seen developed in the Central Business District with the Dayton and Ken Smith site and the Bulger site and along Maple Avenue as well, 4 different developments in the Central Business District. And there were other properties that were involved in that settlement agreement, some along Goffle Road, some along North Maple Avenue by the Pocus border, and the potential for the redevelopment of the site where the present Valley Hospital is on Linwood Avenue. So there is going to be a potential for a study to declare the Valley Hospital campus on Linwood Avenue as an area in need of redevelopment. This was part of the settlement agreement in the affordable housing litigation that was approved by the court and approved by all the interveners. Valley Hospital was a part of that discussion. They consented to this aspect of it, that we would consider the potential for the Valley Hospital site to be an area in need of redevelopment. There are advantages to the municipality, to Ridgewood, to be able to do that rather than do what they call a straight overlay zoning, which means that it's developed now. Overlay zone would mean that if it ever gets developed or ever gets sold, it would need to be developed in a certain way that provides for a certain density of affordable units and development, and that's kind of left then in the developer's hands. By having it declared an area in need of redevelopment, if it meets the criteria, it would, in that regard, give the village more leeway in determining how to set that up and make it more accommodating to the residential character of the surrounding area around Valley Hospital. And we felt that that was a very important aspect of the settlement, and that's the other or the second process that we're going to be going through. Both processes involve interaction between the council and the planning board. And there's going to be, of course, then with the master plan that's going on there now, it brings to light a lot of aspects of development in the village, but there's probably no better time to bring those all together and try and make sure that we've got all the bases covered. So the first thing we're going to be looking at, though, from our end, is the H zone. And that's not affordable housing. That's the H zone. That's the part of this that deals with the existing facility and making that existing facility conforming with the ordinance criteria. So we're going to be looking at that. There's been an investigation done. We've gotten information from Valley Hospital with regard to the nature of the facilities there, the heights, the square footage, the locations, setbacks. So we're going to be looking at that from that standpoint to set forth the criteria in an ordinance that's going to make the existing facility a conforming facility in our zoning code. So that's the first thing we're going to be looking at, and that's what we're going to be discussing tonight. So I hope everybody understood that, and maybe I should have read something, but maybe I think I covered everything that needed to be covered. Just got to make sure that you distinguish between the two separate matters. One is really dealing with affordable housing, and the other one we're calling the H-zone criteria, which really deals with the conformity of the existing facility there in our zoning code.
Okay. So if anyone has any questions about the draft document, I think that the first order of business is that it would be referred to the planning board for review and then come back to the village council for an introduction of the ordinance, and that's just for that first piece, which is as it relates to the H zone.
Right.
And we did, representatives from Valley Hospital were Jonathan Drill and Robin Goldfisher attended last night's planning board meeting, and I think one of the comments by our planner was that we're moving in a positive direction and we're working collaboratively with everyone. So this is a good outcome. It's a really good outcome. So if anybody has any questions, feel free. Matt can answer them.
I'll try and answer.
Any questions? Okay. So if everyone's okay, this would be referred to the planning board. And as I said, that this is just a draft document, and our regular village planner is also reviewing the materials as well, and will make certain that there are, I guess, design elements in there so that everything is...
Yeah, I received an email today from Marianne Bucci-Carter with some questions, and I'll get back to her and respond, but I think the next planning board meeting you guys said was the 19th?
So right. I mixed up one of my other dates.
2 weeks from,
so.
2 weeks from yesterday?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So I'll certainly get back to her before that. She'll be able to bring those up if there's any further need. But
Okay, and then that will be on our next agenda. Very good.
So, are we introducing it in November?
Our introduction would be, hang on,
I think it's October 27th.
we would bring it to October 19th Planning Board for review. Both the planners are going to work on this in the interim. The Planning Board will have a review. We will then take another look at it, and if we are all in agreement, we would move to introduce it on October 27th.
Okay, so we need a special public meeting.
Yes, exactly.
And then what do you anticipate the adoption date to be?
So I made a mistake on my original calendar. I had December 8th, but we're actually December 2nd or 1st.
You wouldn't do it at November, the public meeting in November?
I don't think we can because we
No,
need
we need more
20
time.
days.
I think we have time, because it would be the 29th, and our meeting is on the 10th.
So why don't we do
we can
this?
fit it, I think we just wait and see. We can
Why
fit
don't
it
we wait
into the
and see
November meeting.
how it bounces
We'll
back
do it.
and
If
forth?
not, then we'll look for December.
Then let's make it December, the public meeting.
December 8th, yeah, I think.
Is
No,
that the
it's
public
not
meeting?
December
Could-
8th. I think I made a mistake.
Are you because I have December 8th.
December 8th is a council public meeting, I think.
Then I was right.
but-
I don't know why I thought
But
I
I
was
don't
wrong.
understand
Yeah.
why it couldn't be adopted in November.
Because if you're introducing it on October 27th, you need 20 days.
We don't have 20 days.
Why do you need 20 days?
You need 20 days.
Not between introduction.
It's 20 days before
Oh,
becoming.
in between the introduction and
Yeah,
adoption? I
introduction and-
understand. I
yeah.
understand. Okay.
That's why.
Okay, so,
And just to make sure that we get it done properly, we want to give ourselves that window. So.
right,
Right.
okay.
And our primary, we definitely wanted to at least have it introduced.
If we're hoping that it goes as smoothly as you can figure, but at the same time, there may be questions that need to
Right.
be resolved.
I
and
understand.
Brought back to the planning board, so we'll just take it as it comes.
Right, okay. Got it.
Okay, we're good? You want to go to our meeting agenda review?
Hold on 1 sec.
Sorry.
Grab it. Where is it? There it is. Okay, we have two proclamations, National Diabetes Awareness Month and declaring October National Bullying Prevention Month. We have comments from the public. We have a bond ordinance introduction for emergency water capital due to Hurricane Ida. We have resolutions for Ridgewood Water, rescinding Resolution 21-210, award contract under state contract to Western Star Tandem Axle Dump Truck, award sole source contract exchange of granulated activated carbon vessels at Carwell, award contract under state contract Western Star Tandem Axle Dump Truck, award contract under North Jersey Wastewater Cooperative Pricing System for the maintenance of pumps and motors, repairs, replacement, and installation. Award professional services contract 20 treatment facility, award professional services contract 2022 budget and water rate setting, and then rejecting bids for pipes appurtenances and service materials. Ordinances for introduction under general is the bond ordinance for emergency general capital due to Hurricane Ida, amending Chapter 165, garbage, rubbish, refuse, and recycling, definitions of bulk refuse, amending Chapter 165, garbage, rubbish, refuse, and recycling, container specifications and set-out requirements. 3878 would be amend Chapter 190, and that's it. The public hearing, we have vacating a portion of Upper Boulevard and Barrington Road. Resolutions, we have awarding contract for the layout, printing, assembly, and distribution of the 2022 village calendar, awarding contract for Ridgewood Train Station taxi stand at North Broad Street. Title 59, approval and award of contract for furnishing laboratory analysis services for the water pollution control facility. Title 59, approval and award of contract for furnishing and delivering sodium bisulfite solution and sodium hypochlorite solution for the water pollution control facility. Award professional services contract, update to parking rate feasibility study. Chapter 159 for accepting Municipal Alliance grant. Chapter 159 for accepting the State of New Jersey Department of Health Strengthening Local Public Health Capacity Program grant. Request correction to 2021 budget. Recreation Department matching funds for grants. Local share. Bergen County Department of Health Services Municipal Alliance Grant Program, other expenses, changing the start date for the outdoor cafes in 2022, authorizing cancellation of certain property tax overpayments and refunds, awarding a contract for spatial data logic software, and approving the proposal for Gold Star Memorial in Memorial Park at Van Ness Square. Do you want any of those off the consent agenda? Okay.
Okay. With that, we'll go back to public comments, not to exceed 5 minutes per person. Come on up. Name and address for the record.
My name is Paul McCarthy, 303 Bedford Road in Ridgewood. I'm just here on behalf of the Conservancy. May we take your reading of the proposal as approval to proceed with the North Broad Street project?
Yeah. We have that on our.
I can put that on the agenda for next week, but
Yeah,
the council is, agreed that
So it's
they
read
are
in 1 week and then
favor.
it's reviewed?
Yeah, we can actually just put it on for as an approval.
Mhm.
Right. We'll just do it formally, but I would say that by
there's
consensus,
no-
we agree you're good.
Yeah, there's
We'll
no
just-
formal vote taken at a work session unless
Okay.
you go into a special public meeting.
Okay.
So if there's going to be a formal vote, it would be done next week.
Okay.
But
Well-
by consensus, you're good. I mean, if
Okay.
you want, because I guess you want to get started.
No, well, for the fundraising piece, we have some work to do there, but that we want to be able to have it all in place by the spring when we start the work.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Siobhan Cram-Winograd, 274 Ivy Place. I'm back to talk about fields. This week, I went to my third subcommittee meeting. I've been since February, since the Shedler discussion came on. I've been to open space, I've been to Parks and Rec, and this week I went to fields. And the reason why I went to fields is that obviously Ida damaged our fields, and our kids were displaced, or members of the community were displaced. And during this whole discussion, where that was just such an enormous amount of money that we spent, and I understand it was in response, there's never any proactive discussion or response about developing Shedler, which is on dry land. And the field, 13 years ago, we bought this piece of land. I think, the house is in. It just benefited from this big grant. That's great, but there's undeveloped acreage over there. And when this whole area floods and our kids start school and then are displaced and other people are displaced, it's a little shocking to me from a financial and a responsibility that we're not talking about taking land that we've spent millions of dollars and having it there. I have 2 teenagers. I heard all the drama of the switch to Brookside. It is what it is. It was a massive rainstorm. I'm not blaming anybody for that. But I am extremely disappointed that with all the money we just spent, Shedler never comes into the discussion, that there's never reprioritization of that land over there. We've owned it for 13 years. It's large. It can accommodate people. And with this, so now we have this land flooded, and then we put everybody everywhere else. And when Orchard was shut down, rightfully, like again, floods happen, I get it, remediation happens, the exchange, we just keep forgetting to discuss about this undeveloped piece of land we have, which seems sort of wild, crazy, and financially irresponsible, if I'm being honest. When Orchard was shut, it should have forced the exchange that we were at a land deficit. It not only did it shuffle everything, but then it did other things. We've talked about trees. I love trees. I also love grass. I love our fields. And when we overutilize our other land, it becomes dangerous and it becomes pivoted and dusty. My kids, when they learn about history and they learn about the Dust Bowl, they jokingly call Citizens the Dust Bowl because we haven't given our other fields a respite. So, I don't know what to say because all my letters, all my advocacy, all my offers of help have been unresponded to. That field needs to be developed. We have 6,000 kids using our fields for sports. Their parents would be willing, I'm sure, to donate, to fundraise. It just seems that this council does not want to discuss the development of the field side of it. And that's not to the benefit of the kids. It's not the benefit to the land. And now we had this massive, that was one rather large bond that we just passed. And, the expense. I really appreciate the question, Lorraine. I mean, if we have insurance, why aren't we getting the payment from insurance before we move forward? I mean, it seems really kind of crazy to me that we have insurance, but we don't know how much for, so we just bonded for the full value. I mean, I agreed the field should be moving, but it just, again, seems slightly financially inappropriate to say we have insurance, we don't know how much it is, so we're going to go for the full value, which we pay a 5% fee on because you're bonding. It just doesn't make any sense. So, look, again, climate change, extreme weather, it's here. It's not your fault, but when Orchard closed and these things happen, I was really hopeful that Open Space, Parks and Recs, the Fields Committee would have said, we need to develop this land. We need to develop the park. We need exactly one park. On top of that, until that park is developed and the Broad Street Park is addressed and the climbing structures replaced, this village council has frozen funds from Green Acres. So not only are we spending money in response, we've frozen a pipeline of cash. That pipeline into Ridgewood is frozen because we're failing to respond to our parks as a system. Again, storms aren't your fault. I appreciate that we're moving forward to get them back into action, but it was just a massive amount of money spent, and I'm like really stunned that no one in this council brought the Shedler discussion back up. So again, if you need help, you can respond to one of my many emails that has been going on since February. There's lots of people who want to help. We understand this is not, your problem. It's a community problem, but it needs to come onto the agenda, and it needs to begin to become a serious part of the discussion. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Okay, we're going to close public comment, and I'm actually going to respond to that on a couple of notes. This village council is not responsible. It was not our doing. The park on Broad Street, that happened decades ago. And this village council, and I'll say actually the former village council, embarked on a diversion process that will allow us to rectify that. And we use a very, very, I would say, sophisticated approach to getting that done, and extremely sophisticated approach to having that done. And we are the former village council was the very first village council to really take that on and to address it. Back in, I guess, 2017, we started that process, and hopefully we're going to wrap it up soon and open up that pipeline of funding, albeit that does not, my understanding, and I'm sure Councilman Perrin will agree, that does not prohibit us from seeking other funding through Green Acres, evidently. But in fairness to this village council, I would be remiss if I did not address that, because the village council, this village council and the former village council, since 2016-17, worked on this tirelessly, met with Green Acres multiple times, and have done not just a lot of work on it, but we've invested money into it to get this resolved as quickly as possible. In terms of Shedler, it occurred to me several months ago as we were in the process of dealing with SHPO, the entire property is protected by the State Historic Preservation Office as a result of a document, I believe the document is dated 2012, a request for a certificate of eligibility for both the house and the property by former members of the Historic Preservation Commission, which predates everyone up here. But in 2016, again, the Village Council took that and addressed it and had it incorporated into the property. So SHPO has, I guess, essentially a jurisdiction over that property, and SHPO will determine what does and doesn't, or how the property is developed. So a few months ago, after we had some turmoil with the application, it occurred to me, and the village manager and I, and along with the village engineer, contacted SHPO and requested permission to trifurcate the application so that we were able to get at least parts of it done moving forward. So as a result of that effort to trifurcate that application, we were able to first take the berm and then look at each piece. I will say that we've had money sitting in our budget to do this work. It is a matter of the jurisdiction of SHPO, and to any suggestion that this village council is ignoring anything or not having a conversation, we are working with SHPO, and as those approvals, I believe the berm has been approved with the amendment to the irrigation. We're really super, super excited about having the $500,000, $499,000 grant, which is a matching grant of money, funds already spent. We believe that the house will be an amazing piece of history that we should be grateful to the former members of and current members of the Historic Preservation Commission who had the vision and the wherewithal in 2010 or 12, whatever year it was, to send that letter to the state and have that protected in perpetuity for generations to come to appreciate and enjoy. In any event, so we appreciate those comments, but we really need to make sure all that information is accurate, and we certainly appreciate the offer from you, Siobhan, to help. With that, we'll take a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
A resolution to go into closed session. Sorry, don't move yet. Don't anybody move yet.
Be it resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood that the Village Council meet in closed session on October 6, 2021 at 7:30 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter on the agenda can be reached, and that said closed session be held in the caucus room of the Ridgewood Village Hall, 131 North Maple Avenue, Ridgewood, New Jersey. And be it further resolved that the matters to be discussed in closed session are limited to legal matters, to include review of application fees for zoning board application, Roca versus Village of Ridgewood, Town Garage, and personnel matters to include boards and committees and fire department. These matters are allowable under NJSA 10:4-12 et sec. And be it further resolved that the minutes of this meeting shall be made available to the general public when such matters have been deemed completed by resolution of the Village Council. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? So.
He is very sweet. I don't know how he did that without me. I bet Susan knew.
No, I don't save them.
Susan, did you know Jimmy was going to do that? Yes, he did. I remember that. I remember when he called down.
somebody's going to complain that you can't use the field. So what else are you going to do? I was